On September 30th, 2006, it was one of the worst days of my life. I remember after helping save people that got hit by IED, and after being the superhero to save people's lives, the superhero went behind the Humvee and was shedding tears. From the outside looking in, leadership, it looks fun, but it's a very lonely position, and it's a very exhausting position, and sometimes your best is not good enough. My name is Michael Nichols. I had the honor of serving 22 years federal service, 12 years active duty in the Marine Corps, 10 years at the Department of Veterans Affairs, and currently I serve as the Director of Military Operations for a fitness company, a global company called F45 Training, which is focusing on high-intensity interval training. I graduated high school, and then about 9 months later, my brother was getting ready to go to the Marine Corps, and 2 weeks before he went to boot camp, his recruiter said, "Hey, Michael, I'll give you $1,000 if you go to boot camp with your brother." I was like, $1,000? I've never seen $1,000 in my life. I'm a southern boy and had no money growing up. And so I was like, where do I sign? And 29 and a half years later, here I am. I felt like I was called to be a drill instructor. You know, I went to boot camp February 1995, graduated in May. I found myself in recruit training as a recruit, mimicking my drill instructors and saying little ditties and quotes. And I was like, man, if I stay in, this is what I want to do. And then my career just kind of went in that direction. In order to become a drill instructor, you have to be recommended amongst your peers. It has to go through the chain of command, and you have to have recommendations. And not only have the recommendations, but have the skill set to go to drill instructor school and graduate from drill instructor school. Most people don't realize when you become a drill instructor student, you go through 3 months of high intensity training as well to prepare you to become a drill instructor. And you get treated like a recruit. You're banging on hatches, you're sounding off, you're marching to and from, you're running, you're doing everything that recruits would do, but now you're held at the higher level of expectations.
Always give 100% of yourself at all times, because I see we have a big class, and hopefully all you make.
From lights to lights, I mean, sun up to sundown, we're working around the clock relentlessly. One of the hardest parts about going to drill instructor school is a thing called teachbacks. And what that basically means, every drill movement that we do has a verbatim line by line that you have to memorize. And at the end of every week, you have to pull a card and march across the parade deck and yell that teachback from memory. And we're talking about 4 teachbacks a week. And some of these are 3 to 4 pages long, and you got to learn it verbatim. So everyone's walking around drill instructor school. The movement I explain and demonstrate is left shoulder arms. When given in case, it sounds like this: left shoulder arms. And you have to like practice and practice and practice. Basically, you're trying to master being a drill instructor. The coolest part is you're around your peers that want to be part of something greater than themselves. And that just happens to be what we did, is become Marine Corps drill instructors. As a new drill instructor, brand new, just graduated drill instructor school, and you get put in with a platoon, your primary job is to do nothing but yell, scream, and cause chaos. And the whole purpose of that is always making sure that we have somebody putting pressure on the recruit. As Marines, we're trying to put as much structure in place to eliminate as much failure as possible. There are certain benchmarks that recruits have to meet. I would say 80 to 85% of the young men and women can get through the obstacle or competence course with no problem. But then you have some men and women that are afraid of heights or afraid of water. The Marine Corps will expose your weakness. And if you can expose your weakness, then we as drill instructors can help build you up and help get you through that process. Now, when these young men and women are going through these obstacle courses or confidence courses and they don't make it through, we as senior drill instructors and the chiefs, we try to work with those young men and women one-on-one to help figure out what's going on. Why can't you climb the rope? Or you're afraid of heights? How come you can't get through the slide of life? At the end of the day, we have to expose that weakness because that weakness can get somebody killed in combat. That's the last thing we want. So our job is to expose it so we can mold it and mentor it and help them through it.
Spread! 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 Spread!
What you don't realize is that everything that we do as drill instructors will have a ripple effect, either in the positive or negative. What we do with these recruits, how hard we push them, the discipline that we instill in them will depend. When we go to combat, it can mean someone's life. You know, simple things from staying awake on fire watch to, you know, being at your reported place of duty on time, not late, following orders and directives. There's so many moving pieces. Think about this. We're able to take a whole battalion or regiment and lift them up out of the United States and deploy them anywhere in the world. And logistically, things have to be in order. The discipline that we instill into the recruits is imperative to make sure that we don't lose people's lives in combat. Some people spend their entire career, 4 years, 10 years, 20 years, and never see combat, especially from, to 70s to the early 90s. There was not much global war. When 9/11 happened, we just knew that, hey, from this point forward, everything we do will be at the optimal level. There is no holding back, and we're going to train these recruits to be the best United States Marines possible. When the recruits do something wrong, it was almost like, you just got him killed, you just got him killed. So like you start utilizing real life future scenarios to help even train them even harder. Leadership is not by the words that come out of our mouth, but by our actions. And drill instructors are young enough to embody the perfect example of what it takes to become a United States Marine. As drill instructors, you're training the next generation of recruits to become United States Marines. As a senior drill instructor, you're training the DIs to take the torch, because you're only going to be there for a short, more time frame, and you got to pass the torch to the next generation. I always tell people, carry that torch as long as you possibly can. And when you're done, doesn't matter if it's 4 years, 12 years, 30 years, when you're done, pass that torch to the next generation and let them run with the ball.
Speeding. 401, take one. And camera is set.
Action.
Open your mouth! Aye, aye, sir! You gotta be kidding me. Is that as loud as you can get? Aye, aye, sir! Thank you for your what? Your service?
When Vet TV posted that they're looking for drill instructors to come on and showcase their skill set, a bunch of people that follow what I do tag me in the videos and say, hey man, you need to apply. Fast forward, here we are.
And that's all we're doing for this scene right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then don't we have the back end? Oh yeah, by the door.
And when you have this dynamic of all these different people from all these different walks, comedy has no choice but to show. I remember being a recruit, and I would look across and another recruit staring back at me, and then they start laughing, and you start laughing, and the next thing you know, you're getting in trouble by the drill instructor. It's almost like we go so extreme that if we don't bring comedy into it, we start to lose a little bit about who we are and what we stand for and our personality.
Daddy's not here! Sir!
You use it as a game to keep humor for yourself, to keep humor for the recruits, but if they get too far out of control, we go put some pressure on them to make sure that they don't do it again. Everyone looks at the yelling and screaming, it looks really cool, right? From the outside, they're looking in like, yeah, get some, but when you're the person yelling and screaming for months and months and months, it can be very extremely challenging. When you are given your best effort, and sometimes as Marines, our best is not good enough, and we have people above you or around you that are challenging you to stretch beyond your own mental and physical limitations, that can create excessive stress where you want to quit and you want to throw in the towel. Now that I'm older and a little bit wiser, the greater the resistance in life, the greater the change. Embrace the pain so you can get through it. You know, it sucks standing on your feet for 16 hours, 18 hours a day. It sucks yelling and screaming to the point where your throat's bleeding and your campaign cover's cutting in your head. But you have other people around you challenging you and stretching you beyond what your own personal and professional limitations that you think that you can handle. So at the same time, it could cause a tremendous detriment to your mental and physical health. At the same time, as long as you don't quit and give up, it'll grow you, it will help mold you, it will help mentor you. So that way, one day you can reach back and help somebody going through that same thing. When you're new as a drill instructor, you go home and you'd pass out eating dinner, and then you wake up yelling because that's what you've been doing all day. Then as your body and your mind gets acclimated to your environment, it takes 3, 4, 5 cycles, and then you're able to, okay, I'm going home, here's my campaign cover, throw it on the seat, I'll see you tomorrow. It takes time to acclimate your body and your mind back to civilian society. And the disheartening thing is a lot of my bands of brothers, they get out, they leave the drill field, they don't know how to turn it off, and then they spend the next 30, 40 years leaving destruction behind. What I didn't want to do is, wake up one day when I'm 70 or 80 years old, look behind me and look at all the destruction I left behind. So I like to challenge, my friends and my fellow veterans that, don't spend 20, 30 years making a great name for yourself and then spend the next 40 or 50 talking about who you used to be. Take your skill sets, convert it to the civilian community. You don't have to walk around like you're a Marine Corps drill instructor all the time. Be Michael, be Marco, be whatever it is that your first name is, and go help the next generation, go help your community. We have about 15 to 18 million veterans in the United States. That means we have 200,000 service members leaving the military every year. 200,000 service members leaving the military every year. Think about it, they go to every city, state, and community all throughout the United States. If our veterans could get out and really convert their experience into something that they're passionate about, think about the ripple effect that we can have. The military does a great job onboarding us, put us through training, infantry, motor transport, whatever the case may be. We spend, first 6 months to a year to 2 years getting them onboarded into the military. And then when it's time for them to get out, we don't do a really great job helping them get out and transition. When you have the support of the government, your paycheck's coming, you have structure, you have discipline. When you get out, it's you against you. And a lot of service members, even I did, I struggled with it for a long time. Like, you go from being in charge of 40, 50, 60 people to I just got to be in charge of myself, and you lose focus, you lose purpose. What I do now in the fitness industry is we have a Department of Defense approved skill bridge program. So the last 6 months of military service members' careers, if they want to get into the fitness industry, they can apply for our internship program. The government pays them while we train, educate, and help them transition out of the military. So like right now, I have over 150 active duty service members that are interning at F45 studios all throughout the United States. I have another 163 pre-approved to join the program. I said that to say this, that I got out of the military. I did my years at the VA. I did 22 years total, and I'm still making an impact because I converted my military experience into something I'm passionate about. So I don't have to work. I wake up every day helping the next generation.
Let's go!
Rifle center, right center. Oh, it's on. Rifle center, bro. Hands up. Okay. Touch on it, touch on it, touch on it. Touch on it. Touch on it. Yes, sir.
When it comes to not being hard enough, when I became a new drill instructor, the older guys that have been there for a long time, they would put a lot of pressure on you, like you're not fast enough, you're not loud enough, you're not smart enough. I never punched anybody and never maliciously, hit anybody, but I was physical because when you're trying to move 91 people with speed, intensity, and volume, and they're not moving, by default, you start grabbing and moving and making things happen. I can be intense, but I need to make sure that I'm balanced as well. You want to see hardcore, I'll show you hardcore, but that hardcore can cross the lines. For example, my second cycle as a drill instructor, the 10th day of the cycle, we have these things called 10T surveys. And on those surveys, I think we had 91 recruits in my second platoon, something like that. And 44 of them allocated on me that I was too intense. And what that reminded me of, I can be intense, but I need to make sure that I'm balanced as well. And this is the beauty of leadership. If the recruits wouldn't have said, hey, he's too intense, too hands-on, no one would have corrected me. That could have escalated to the point where I did something even worse. So leaders have to lead, step in, even when it's hard, because only by the grace of God did I make it through the drill field, because I have a very extreme personality. You want to see hardcore, I'll show you hardcore, but that hardcore can be across the lines. I'm a true believer that God sends us through scenarios in our life so we can reach back and help other people get through those scenarios. When I was in Iraq, I remember the combat scenario where on September 30th, 2006, it was one of the worst days of my life. I remember after helping save people that got hit by IED and, put tourniquets on them and shoot them up with morphine and get them in a helicopter, I remember after being the superhero to save people's lives, and the superhero went behind the Humvee and was shedding tears. From the outside looking in, leadership, it looks fun, it looks joy, but it's a very lonely position and it's a very exhausting position because you're thinking about all these scenarios, trying to help people, and sometimes you miss it, and sometimes your best is not good enough, and that's okay. And so when I was in Iraq, behind the Humvee, I took a walk and just let a war cry out, so to speak. There was a lot of post-traumatic stress happening while I was there, but because I was the senior leader, the staff NCO in charge, I held it in until I came back from Iraq, came back from combat, and then I went to the Naval Medical Center at Camp Pendleton to ask for help. It's almost like you get done with these super highs. Doesn't matter if it's combat, being a DI, you get done and you walk in, you close that door. It's almost like your body just wants to collapse and just crawl up in a ball and cry and quit and give up. But that's not what we do as Marines. We don't cry to quit, we cry to keep going. And that's kind of what I've been taught. And those moments, you want to throw in the towel. You question everything in your life, but somehow or some way you lean on the person to your left and right and you get through it. And once you get through it, now it's time to help the next person through it. I like to say knowledge has no power unless it's given to somebody else. Let me give you an example. If I died today and I'm the only Marine Corps drill instructor and I figured it out and I mastered it, but if I don't reach back and teach and train and educate the next generation, that information dies with me. Whenever you understand something, when you master it, make sure you share it with everybody else, because if you go down in combat, somebody else has to pick up the ball and keep running with it. At the end of the day, if you get to the top of the elevator, you get to the top of the building and you don't send the elevator back down to pick people up and help guide them through that process, what good is leadership if you can't help the next generation? And so somebody stepped on the yellow footprints way before I did, and there's going to be tens of thousands and millions that will step on the yellow footprints after me. But you always need people that have the desire to train, motivate, and inspire the next generation to step in, to fill the gap between good and evil, to train and educate, and make sure that they're ready to become a United States Marine. I was preordained and destined to be a Marine Corps Drill Instructor, which I've been fortunate enough to train 8 platoons to become United States Marines. I wouldn't change that for the world, and if I could do it again, I would do it all over again.
Stand up straight and look at me. It is our mission to train each one of you to become a United States Marine.
To be a drill instructor is 100% the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It's physically demanding, mentally demanding. You're working 3 months at a time, 15, 16-hour days.
I was up for 24 hours, I didn't sleep. I think I didn't sleep for like 2 days straight.
The Marine Corps is the best of the best of the best. Drill instructors are the best of the best of the best with honors.
They say the drill sergeants are the top 10% of the Army.
When it comes to not being hard enough, my personality is, okay, you want to see intense? I'm going to show you intense.
You have a lot of alpha males and alpha females in the drill field, and it's dog eat dog. You're just always trying to be the best you can be.
That is for your safety, not ours. Do you understand? Yes, sir.
A lot of former drill instructors don't know how to turn it off.
Do not take this persona of drill sergeant into your home.
I served some time in jail because I violated an order. My career ended the way I didn't want it to end, so it's been rough.
Okay. It's just now hitting me. It hasn't hit me yet until like this.
As far as the mental aspect, you need to be mentally tough.
I think the military really pulled something out of me that I might not have known was in there.
My drill instructors, oh goodness. My senior drill instructor, he was a monster. Seeing them for the first time, it was so surreal that I'm actually doing this. This is the real deal.
The main thing we're trying to accomplish is just survival. You know, you got to break them out of the shitty civilian habits they're in and let them know, hey, mommy and daddy aren't here anymore. And you could go in a combat zone in which your life's going to be at risk.
If a recruit's not trained properly, I mean, they can easily get Marines killed in combat.
Do the mission, get it done. You're tired, keep going.
Run! You'll give the rubber any other day. Come on, come on! Come on, I don't care who you are.